Hi, good day, everyone. Thank you so much for taking the time to join our webinar today. My name is Alex. I'm the National Trainer, and I'll be discussing the Ubiquiti consoles today. Specifically, we're going to be comparing the different console types. Also going to take a quick run through the interface. And I just want to mention that this is slightly informal. So if you have questions or want us to focus on another topic or go deeper onto a specific thing, please do feel free to ask those questions. Also, if you have any suggestions for future topics, please feel free to post those through on the comment section. I'm more than happy to answer those and consider them for future webinars. As always, there is a prize draw at the end. We're giving another U6 Lite away for this webinar as well. So do stick around for that. We will have the prize draw directly at the end of this webinar. With that said, we can delve directly into it. So I want to just quickly mention, so we're going to take a look at the interface, but also want to mention that we're going to call out some stuff here that we recently spoke to Ubiquiti about. So maybe a little bit of a sneak peek there, but we've been discussing what's coming from Ubiquiti extensively with them, and it's good to get some insights because they don't really have a early access store anymore. So for us to get the insights, it's quite pivotal to see where they're going and what's happening next. So I'll be sharing that off with you guys today as well. In terms of the portal, the management, etc., so much the same as we've seen it before, Ubiquiti is continuing to focus on the portal. They have obviously the console where you would remotely access all of your sites from. That's typically the portal page. There is actually some work going into this now to enable grouping in future, so you can more easily group your sites together and in a more top-down view control those sites. So this is coming from Ubiquiti. It's not in the patch notes yet. It's not anywhere that we've seen yet, but we have noticed a slight sneak peek of this. So they're looking to add grouping functionality as part of this, and they are going to expand on the one-click functionality. So you guys would have recently seen Ubiquiti launch something called Site Magic, which allows you to establish VPNs at the click of a button. They are looking to expand on those capabilities as well. So having more consoles and interfaces, etc., just be a one-click setup to kind of minimize the IT chores that we would have to go through as an IT administrator. So the portal site, again, recently Ubiquiti have taken the network server component, in other words, where you're hosting the controller yourself, and they've also added this to the portal page. So you can now very easily jump between a physical controller that's on the customer's premises versus a controller that you're hosting yourself. And both those are viable options and continue to remain viable options going forward as well. Going on to the networking section, I think this is the part that most people are most familiar with. The networking interface is obviously where we set up our switches, access points, etc. I think I'm preaching to the choir here. I think most people would know this off heart already. I think Ubiquiti have kind of hit the sweet spot in terms of form versus function. They are expanding on this network interface as well. Again, a little bit of a sneak peek here. Ubiquiti are adding a ton more options and a ton more pages to this as well. So they're going to expand on the functionality of the network portion. And it kind of ties into where Ubiquiti is heading as a brand with UID. And some of the UID features are going to carry through to this. So there is a massive change coming to UID at the end of this month, which we're going to discuss in a moment as well. So from the networking side of things, obviously, it's still the central place where you would control your entire network from. And this network portion is available both on a self-hosted controller as well as a controller that you would purchase and deploy for a customer. So if you're buying a Ubiquiti Dream Machine, then essentially this is included with that. Or if you're hosting it on the customer's hardware or your own hardware, that free of charge application essentially gives you the network application as the free of charge management interface. So for customers that are looking to save a buck and not splurge on a full controller, it's a good way to do it and essentially host that controller on their own hardware. We've also just done a video yesterday on how to set up a controller yourself. That recording is available on our YouTube channel if you want to have a look at that. But essentially, the network interface remains relatively the same. They're just expanding on that functionality. In terms of Protect, so this now strays more into the part of what the Dream machines can do as opposed to what you can host yourself. So the Protect side of things is obviously for the surveillance. So if you're recording video footage, setting up cameras, viewing cameras live, etc., all of that is done through Protect. In order to use Protect, you must have a Dream machine or one of those derivatives. So it would be either a unified Dream router, a Dream wall, or a Dream machine that would essentially allow this functionality. Different levels of scale that you can achieve with those, and we're going to review the hardware on those in a second as well. But this is not available in the network application that you host yourself. Talk. So last year we said very blatantly to everyone that we don't know what's happening with Talk in Ubiquiti since there was no local support for it. This year I can happily say that we are working with Ubiquiti to look at possibly becoming a provider for Talk in Australia. So we're very excited by this, and hopefully we will be one of the providers that you can select during the setup phase of this Talk phone. So Talk is the VoIP component to Ubiquiti. It works a little bit different to how 3CX or something like that would work, in that when you're setting up the IP phone for the first time, you have to essentially select a provider. So you have to say, okay, I'm going to use Breeze Connect for this service. So that integration is in the works currently. We're, like I said, we're busy speaking to Ubiquiti to see how and when we're going to become a provider for that. So working hard and pushing hard to get that done. Personally, very excited by this. I don't think it's a replacement for 3CX, and I don't think Ubiquiti are trying to promote it that way. I just think it's a good way to get your customers even more sticky to you. So if their VoIP services, if their camera services, and even their network services are tied into a single provider, makes things nice and easy in terms of billing and in terms of management. Ubiquiti have done a ton of work on their access control systems as well, and this is a big part going forward because it ties into Ubiquiti's UID. You're going to hear me mention UID extensively on this because it is extremely important for where Ubiquiti is going. So access, like it suggests, it's pretty much access control. Ubiquiti have just launched its second generation of access control readers. Essentially, they have added the ability to get door control on the outside of a building. Previously, we had lots of requests to have the access readers outdoors since they weren't really outdoor rated. And the second generation or the G2 series of the access readers essentially can do that. So it's a big step forward for Ubiquiti. We are also going to set up some of this in our Adelaide offices as well to hopefully show this going forward. Where this becomes important when tying into UID is it will also function for time and attendance purposes. So for example, you can tap in the morning to get into the building, and that will automatically show that you've essentially attended work during that day. And then when you tap out, it completes the time and attendance cycle. So this is very interesting because it also can trigger a whole bunch of different flows from there. So you can set up certain access policies to say that the person can only access it during certain times, etc., etc. I'll speak quite honestly about this as well. Right now, the access component is a bit bare bones if you're not using UID. I would have loved to see a little bit more functionality on this, but again, with the changes coming at the end of this month, this will become much more important, much more prevalent going forward. So I can't unfortunately reveal exactly what it is, but there is a massive change coming to UID, and this is going to be essentially available to a lot more people, and it's essentially going to be a good way to move forward with Ubiquiti within your customer space. Ubiquiti have also started their Connect series, which we've shown off at the expos as well. By the way, most of these products that we're talking about are at the Leader Expo, so we've still got Brisbane left. So if you're in Brisbane, please do feel free to pop by as well. With regards to Connect, so Connect displays or Connect is essentially just a digital signage solution for Ubiquiti. So they want to be in every corner of your boardroom, essentially. So one of the things that we typically see is a requirement to have signage of some description, either to play a company video or to display stuff like if a boardroom's in use or something like that. What makes Connect so unique in these displays specifically is that they are PoE powered. For a large format display like that to be PoE powered is extremely impressive. It is PoE++, it needs to be, but it is extremely impressive. These things, it's still early days for them. I think that Ubiquiti came up with the solution before they had a real need for the product. So I think they're trying to find where it fits in best at the moment. But the digital signage on this is also very revolutionary. And again, if you haven't seen it at Expo, I encourage you guys to check out some of the Connect displays on our YouTube channel as well, and we will be doing a full video on that going forward. So I alluded to UID as being an important step, and this really to me is the most important thing we can talk about right now. So UID is something that is hosted by Ubiquiti. It is currently free of charge within Australia. If you want to demo this, you can have free access to pretty much unlimited number of sites, unlimited number of users, etc. You just request the features that you want, and you can get full access to it. The reason this becomes so important is it is the first time that Ubiquiti is really integrating and working with other brands. So we're seeing for the first time support for stuff like SSO applications that are natively integrated to this. You just need to complete the credential information and that setup is done. It is extremely simplified and it is extremely powerful. We're seeing stuff like security policies for the first time. So real security policies where you can say that if a device is outside of a specific region and it has completed 10 login attempts, then it should block access, stuff like that, which we've never seen on Ubiquiti before. To me, this is revolutionary, completely changes the way Ubiquiti fits into the market. It takes it from being purely an SMB brand into something that is more and more enterprise as well. Speaking about more and more enterprise, we have also received word from Ubiquiti around their security focus and their redundancy focus. So there's a massive renewed focus on both security and redundancy. We're going to see that in the hardware section as well. The most powerful thing for me, or the thing that I love about UID, is the applications. So these apps work on whether you're on an iPhone, Android, or on a desktop. So if you've got Windows installed or Mac OS, essentially you just install this app and it gives you basically one-click access to everything. And it is extremely simple. So what you can do in UID is you onboard an employee, you add all their credentials, and as soon as that employee walks in through the door, they don't need to have our Wi-Fi password. They don't need to know the VPN credentials. All that they need to do is sign into their UID app, click the button to say connect to Wi-Fi, and the application automatically connects them. Same thing for VPN, same thing for most of this. So approval flows, lights, if they have access to cameras, you can access the cameras, etc., etc., etc. All of this available directly and natively through the app. The approvals flow to me is also extremely impressive because it allows you to do stuff like leave requests directly through an application, which is pretty insane. So yeah, to me, I want you guys to please have a look at Ubiquiti's UID solutions. Take it for a test drive. It is free of charge right now. There will be a charge for this going forward. We are in talks with Ubiquiti on how this is going to work. And it's the first time we're really seeing subscription services from Ubiquiti. So, but it's common practice and standardized across the industry to pay for this type of service. It's definitely not unique on Ubiquiti's side, but it's early days, so we'll see where this goes to. In terms of the actual hardware, so the controllers and the dream machines that Ubiquiti sell and promote, essentially Ubiquiti are measuring our success on how many controllers we sell. And pretty much the same thing for resellers as well. They consider the most successful resellers as the ones that are selling the most controllers. So it kind of is a little bit at odds with the UID strategy, and we'll see that why that is in a little bit. But this is still a massive focus for Ubiquiti. And there's something coming that is not shown on here, and that is a very cost-effective controller coming at the very bottom end of the market. So right now, if you want to get a UDR, it's a couple $100. Ubiquiti are trying to make the clients more sticky by getting a really cost-effective device into the customer's premises to get them started on Ubiquiti. And then from there on, the customer can expand onto ever larger controllers and more Ubiquiti equipment. Right now, the starting point is still the UDR, so Unified Dream Router. It's an awesome little device for home users, small business users. It's perfect. Provided you're not exceeding around 500 megabit per second on your WAN, this is fine. It's 100% fine. I typically say it's like 2 to 25 devices, but it can be way more depending on what you have set up in terms of security and what other applications you're running on it. I love the devices for their simplicity. I love that it has built-in PoE capabilities as well, so you can power an access point. It's really, really powerful, and it's got a built-in access point as well, which is very good. The UDM Pro and Pro SE, both of those will continue to be around for the foreseeable future. I'm not going to go through the technical differences here, but I just want to make a note on a software difference between the two. It's probably something you guys would have seen. The UDM Pro SE typically tends to get firmware updates before the regular Pro. So for the longest time, Ubiquiti have had support for WAN failover on the SE, but that function was only added a few months later on the regular Pro. So my money is always on the Pro SE. I prefer it, but it depends on what you want. So a lot of people aren't phased by having the latest and greatest in firmware, but it is nice to have, when new features become available, to have access to those features that might be beneficial to your customers. So most of the time we see a combination of both deployed, although my money would typically go to the UDM Pro C for new deployments. And then the one on the right there, we showed this at Leader Expo last year, and it's now commercial product. It's available for purchase. They've updated and added a larger screen, and that is the Unified Dream Wall. So it's pretty much a UDM on steroids. So it's got a built-in PoE switch. It's extremely capable in terms of PoE as well. 4 ports regular PoE, PoE Plus, and PoE Plus Plus as well. So altogether, 16 ports that are PoE, and it is very, very capable. Oh, sorry, not 16, 12 ports. My math got the better of me there. So where the Dream Wall would fit in is in new deployments. So if your customer is, let's say, for example, a retail space, and they don't want to have a massive rack sitting in the corner somewhere, or they don't have a data closet or something like that, then that's what the Dream Wall is designed to do. So you would take the cables directly from the roof, you can lead them through conduits, and you stick it to the top of the Dream Wall. The Dream Wall also has redundant power supply options as well, so you can swap out the power supply if you want to. It's a very unique solution, and essentially it removes the need to have a cabinet up somewhere, which I think is quite cool as well, and it looks pretty. That's the big selling point for it. Let's talk about the security gateways as well. So right now I can already hear a bunch of you screaming through your computers that you want a USG replacement. Me too. So for a lot of resellers that have already deployed a cloud key or a controller on a customer's premises, the go-to has always been a tiny USG that is cost effective and gives you gateway functionality. And I'm happy to say that there is a new USG on the way. I can't give you any details on it yet, but it is geared to be a replacement for the old USG, the small one. So when and where and how much, I don't know yet, but it is definitely on the cards. At least that's what we've heard. So we'll see how that takes shape, but I'm very excited to see that as well. Right now, the gateway device of choice is still the UXG Pro. So if you're looking to get gateway functionality on a customer's premises, obviously with the security side of things, etc., the Gateway Pro is the way to go. Interesting device here, still on the list, is the Cloud Key Gen 2 Plus, still around. Ubiquiti have actually shifted focus on this product, and they don't really intend to use it for cloud key purposes anymore. They are now focusing it more towards the NVR side of things. So if you attend the Ubiquiti training, you'll see they listed as an NVR device primarily. The reason they do that is because it's got a built-in 1 terabyte drive, and it does have the Protect application running on it as well. So it's still around, it's still a thing. You can absolutely use it with the Gateway Professional instead of a UDM or something if you wish, although the general recommendation in terms of the product features, etc., is to still go for UDM or UDR or similar. And then there's two things here which we get a lot of requests on recently, and that is the Cloud Console and Cloud Key Enterprise. So coincidentally, Linus Tech Tips last night did a review of the Cloud Key Enterprise. It's a bit of an unboxing, not so much a review. It is a pretty insane piece of kit. So what it is, it's a 1U server. It's a fully fledged server. It comes with Xeon Gold processors. It is extremely powerful and can do, I think Ubiquiti set up to 5,000 client devices across, I think, 500 different connected devices, access points, switches, etc. It is extremely, extremely capable, and we have a couple of these on the way already. If you have a requirement for this, then we can special order them in for you as well. They are costly, of course. The compute hardware that goes into that is costly by nature, but it is something that gives you very, very large scale. So if you have more enterprise solutions where you have hundreds of access points, hundreds of switches, hundreds of client devices, that is the device to go to. We're also waiting to see if this supports multi-site management, which case it would be a perfect solution for MSPs looking to put this into their own data center and manage their customers through it. As soon as I can get my hands on one, I will confirm this. Unfortunately, they didn't include that in the LTT review, but as soon as we get info on that, we'll share that out to everyone as well, and just the general EDM on that product. In terms of the cloud console, so this is Ubiquiti hosting their own controller in the cloud on your behalf. Essentially, this is not available in Australia, and the indications are that it is coming. It is a monthly paid for service. Right now, it gives you the capability to manage up to, speaking under correction here, I think it's 250 devices or something like that natively. But there's also support for a larger variant of this as well. I'm going to discourage this this platform or this method for the moment. I love that Ubiquiti are doing it themselves and you have more control over it, etc. But at the same time, we're getting measured on our success through the cloud keys and the UDMs, etc. that we sell. So it kind of detracts from our sales. And to me, as a managed service provider, I would rather prefer to be the one hosting the service, because it means that you can't just have that service move away from you. It makes the customer a lot more sticky. It's still, like I said, not available in Australia. You can't actually go purchase this right now. They don't have a payment gateway for that in Australia just yet. So we'll see how that pans out. But at the moment, it's not a viable option. In terms of the security and the failover capabilities that we were talking about earlier. So these are the general capabilities that are available on the switches and all the controllers. And I'm sure you have all used this. The main call out and the main thing that Ubiquiti said to us when we spoke to them is they are trying to be like a cost-effective Fortinet or WatchGuard or something similar to that in terms of their security capabilities. So they're really looking to expand on their security capabilities and add a ton more functionality into that. I can already see it. I've recently had some intrusions or attempted intrusions in my own personal deployment. And the way that it is signatured, the way that it is shown, the way that it is alerted is extremely intuitive and very, very capable. So I 100% believe Ubiquiti when they say they are adding a lot more functionality into it. And there's now something called a shadow mode, or it's going to be released shortly, that will allow you to have a what seems like a hot spare for your controller as well. So if the one controller fails, it can automatically fail over to the other one. So brand new functionality, don't know when or where yet, but we've seen that in the works as well. Personally, again, very excited by that capability. The one thing I want to call out here is the easy VPN setup. I think Ubiquiti, the way they've implemented VPN functionality on this, both site to site and even VPN client or VPN server mode, is extremely easy. Stuff like Radius, we've come to expect this as well in Ubiquiti, and I know there's a lot of work continuing on with this. Another feature which has recently been added is called private appreciate keys. We've seen this in some competing brands, but basically what that is it kind of removes the need for Radius authentication, where every user, or you would create a user within the controller, and each one of those users would get a unique appreciate key. So if that user leaves, that key becomes invalidated. And the benefit with that is based on that key that they use, they can have access to specific networks. Private appreciate keys is brand new. That functionality is generally available. So I encourage you guys to check that out as well. In terms of calculating the resources and calculating what you need to purchase for which solution, the best tool Ubiquiti has is the Ubiquiti Resource Calculator. So as you can see it running on screen, essentially it just shows that if you select X amount of access points or cameras, etc., how much processing power it's going to use on which device. It should also very easily highlight which the preferred devices for certain types of deployments. So for example, a UNVR would obviously be way more capable at handling multiple cameras. You'll see me tick on VPN and threat management here. You can see the impact that has, and I encourage you guys to also just take note of that when you're designing solutions, and essentially the massive impact that it has on your environment. But this tool is available free of charge to everyone. You can access it in the link on screen, or you can literally just search for Ubiquiti Resource Calculator and it will come up. That is pretty much it for the controllers. It's an exciting time for Ubiquiti. We're going to see how they go forward with it, and yeah, I'm looking forward to all the functionality that they're adding in the last couple of weeks and days. If you have any questions, please feel free to post them through now. I'm going to quickly check some of the questions we've received so far. Can we get the YouTube video of the self-hosting? Yes, absolutely. I'm going to share out the link to the self-hosting video recording with everyone on this webinar. I'll just automatically email it out to everyone if that's okay. Pardon the spam. And then there's a question here. What is our leader subscription called, or what is our leader channel called in YouTube? So we are Leader Academy AU. And on that, we add a ton of good information. So we show you stuff like VPN setups, we show you firewall configuration, we show a ton of good stuff. And we update that content frequently, and it's technical. So we go through the actual setup, we do tests, etc. as well. Please have a look at that. I highly encourage it. Then there's a good question here from Ryan as well. Have you heard if they will give the ability to disable NAT through the UDM Pro SC so we can put our own firewall in front of it? I think they have third-party gateway as an option, although I think it still does double natting if I'm not mistaken. Ryan, this is something I'm going to have to get back to you on. Unfortunately, I don't have confirmation from Ubiquiti on whether it's supported or not and when it's going to be supported. So yeah, let me have a look at that, and I will get back to you as well. And then there's a question here from Sage. Can't see people's questions, so that's correct. It's only the presenters that can see the question. Sorry about that. And then there's a question here: does the Alien Fi devices fit into any of this new stuff? So the Amplify range, the Amplify Alien, unfortunately, that's more considered to be their consumer range, and it's not really part of the Unify stack. As a result of that, it cannot tie back into the Dream Machines or anything like that. That being said, I do use a amplifier device at home, an Alien to be exact, and you can see it in the interface of the controller. You can still do all the regular profiles, etc. And it's still pretty capable, but the exact management still has to happen on the amplifier application. I wish they would bring it into Unified, to be honest. I think it's a very cool thing. And then there's a question here from, a comment here from Lauren saying PPSK is now available for Wi-Fi. Yep, absolutely, it is available, and I think it's an awesome function to have added on. You guys are still welcome to continue posting questions through. I will be answering those questions directly afterwards. I'm just going to send you an email if that's okay. For the people that have been waiting patiently for the prize draw, I think let's get straight into that. And I am going to pull up our list here.